Brilliant, 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 brilliant. Hello, 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 hello. Okay, hello,
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 hello.
hello. How are you?
Brilliant. How are you? How
Doing
are you? How are you? How are you?
doing great. How about you?
Yes, most excellent, most excellent, most
Very
excellent.
good. Very good. So, not trying to be nosy, but what's going on with Bina?
Bina is doing good. She was dealing with stuff, personal stuff. And then last I chatted to her, it was all good, lots of shifts. So I don't know if she's going to come back on Zoom or not, or, I'm not sure exactly what she's going to do in that regard. I don't want to press.
Oh, sure,
Um,
sure.
so, however she's doing stuff. So I'll just let things do their own thing,
Right,
right?
right,
And
right.
resolve themselves.
Yeah.
That's simple.
Just wanted to
So
make sure
yeah,
she was doing
yeah.
good.
Last I spoke to her, she was good. So yeah.
Oh, good. Well, I've seen her posting a couple times, but I haven't really, talked to her personally or anything. And I just wanted to make sure she was doing well.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
So that's good.
yeah, yeah. No, she's good. So yeah, that is good. That is good. She and Erica were doing that work on the shadow work. So
Right,
I did encourage Erica to continue with that. So
right. Well, I know she has been.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
she's very interested in that, and
Right, right.
we,
So I was just saying to Erica, really recommending that you do, continue with that.
sure. Well, she is.
Non-follow.
I think she's really interested in it herself, and so she is working on it. Even if she works on it by herself or whatever, she's just
Yeah,
going
exactly,
ahead.
exactly. But I mean, I was really highly recommending she do so with Bina.
Right, right.
Just reconnect with Bina. Being a very private person, so sometimes you have to kind of persist a little bit. You
Right.
might initiate and Bina might not respond, but that doesn't mean she's not interested in connecting. So
Sure, sure.
I did mention that to Erica. So.
Well, good. Well, good.
Yeah, so you always can message her, say hello, Bina, how are you? Miss you.
Right, right.
Always
I
good.
should.
So she appreciates that. I mean, she's not likely to reach out herself, but she does appreciate when others reach out to her. So yeah, no, please
Okay.
do. Do.
I will. I'll just give her a quick
Yeah,
hi.
yeah, very good, very good. Yeah, no, I'm glad you asked too. That's very good.
Yeah.
Good deal, good deal, good
Good
deal. What's
deal.
been happening in your world? What's been happening?
Well, I feel kind of bad because I haven't worked very much on Way of Impeccability since we talked,
Ah,
a couple days ago because yesterday I was getting all my things together and then traveling back home and um, trying to get everything put back where it belongs and get everything back together and all of that stuff. And so I'm just now kind of getting resettled and ready to do some stuff. But so if we end up not spending the whole time today, I mean, I don't want to take your time if I'm not prepared. I don't mean
never a worry, never a worry. We always got lots to talk about. So
this is true.
never.
This is
Beside
very.
which, you started on living with the force, and we barely got anywhere with it last time.
This is true. This is
Right.
true.
I think we
Yes,
were on the first slide. That's it.
I
I
know.
think something like
It's
that,
true.
right?
It's true.
So yeah.
Um,
So we got some catching up to do anyway, right?
well, I do have that.
No, it's never a waste of time. We can always do things just like recaps, which are very powerful. Going over one's dictionary of power. This is massively useful just for the emphasis of it. There's plenty of stuff one can do. So yeah, never. It's never a waste. Never
Oh,
ever a
oh,
waste. No worries. No
that
worries.
is good. That is
No
good.
problem.
Well,
Sometimes when you take the time to, if you do not, you kind of skip it, there's consolidation that goes on. So it's always good. Yeah, it's all good. Yeah, that's the magic of what we do. It's all good no matter what.
that is true. I agree. I agree 100%.
Very,
Um,
very cool.
all right. Well, I do have this pulled up from Living with the Force. And I'm seeing that the first one, we talked about share examples in your life of where you have done all you could and then something happened which changed everything. And we talked about the my car and the fuel filter and the
Ah,
guy with the green
no,
suit and all that.
what
Yeah.
a story. What, I mean, just it couldn't be better, from a tailor-made point of view, right?
I know. It was an amazing experience. I'm sure
Yeah,
there are like a million others. I'm not thinking of them right off the top of my head. And
yeah,
I think that this is a really good exercise because and it's funny because I'm kind of doing the same thing with thinking about my why, that book about the why, and it asks you to go back and find these memories and experiences that you had and why they were important to you and all of that. And
yeah,
it's so funny because my mind just goes blank. And I know there's a million of them. And so I think it's really good for me to have to think of specific instances and get really, into them.
yeah,
So I need to think of some other ones besides the fuel filter. I mean, that has to be the best ever,
yeah,
example, but there have
yeah.
got to be lots and lots and lots of others. So I need to press myself and really think about what they are in specific instances.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And the key point that I'm after is to accentuate and emphasize the 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 awareness of such instances,
Right.
so that we recognize them in the moment. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. That's the key. That's what I'm really focused on, in a big way, so that we can really be sure to recognize this as it happens.
Right.
Even not in the moment, but even to say, wow, I'm kind of stuck now. And you start looking around for it, and to anticipate, expect, to even create it, as it were. So it shifts into a whole different way of living, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Um, Well, it is kind of interesting because for me, and I really thought a lot about this. And the next question touches on it. It says in movies or stories, something happens which is out of the blue and unexpected and saves the day. Does this seem nonsensical to you? Do you think
Yeah.
it is far fetched or silly? Why or why not?
Right.
Um, And I said, it does not seem far fetched to me at all. And this whole process, this whole idea of doing whatever you can do, and then you get kind of at a stuck point, and then the universe brings some incredible thing, into the picture and it changes everything. That is, that is totally normal to me. That is kind of not exactly the way I grew up, but when I got personally really interested in Christian Science, um, I mean, I grew up in that
Yeah.
religion, but I got interested in it when I was, a teenager, and it kind of started
Ah,
making it my own when I was a teenager, and that that is what that's kind of what Christian Science is all about, is doing what you can do, being impeccable.
that's
And then at that point, trusting and turning over, just
yeah.
sort of releasing of the situation to, what in Christian Science is called God, but you can call it the force, or whatever.
Exactly,
Um,
exactly, exactly.
it's the same thing.
Yeah.
And just, letting that go and trusting that, and um, amazing adjustments happen in your
Wow,
life.
wow.
And that's how I grew up. That's what I think is normal.
Very good.
And um, I think that has been a huge influence in my life,
Yeah,
that kind of thinking. I
very
think
good.
messed up. I think there's a lot about any religion, I think, and anytime people are involved in religion, then things get messed up,
Oh
and
yeah,
they
oh
get
yeah, oh yeah.
misinterpreted. They get
Exactly. And you get BMNs get involved, and
the
usually it's
events get
BMNs who
involved.
make all
Yes.
the rules and write it down, and then they want control and superiority and all this other nonsense. So,
Right. And
yeah,
it gets messed up. But
exactly.
um but that basic idea of how things work is really powerful, and it's
Yes,
really amazing. And for
yes,
me, I think I have a natural, well, it's sort of K connected. I mean, I have a
exactly. Affinity, right?
um, just
Absolutely.
accepting that that's the way the world works, and that combined with learning that
Exactly.
has made, but it made me sort of unusual within Christian Science Church.
Yeah,
It made me unusual in virtually every environment I've ever been in. That's not a typical
no,
outlook on life, really. And a lot of people talk about it, and Christians talk about that, but they're not really willing to do it when push comes to shove.
exactly, exactly.
And frankly,
Application is king. Yes,
my
yeah.
mom was a perfect example. And love my mom to death, but she was never really, she wasn't ever
Yeah,
really into it that much. And
yeah.
she and I mean, we had these big arguments, after I was not in church, and all of that. Um, and she kind of got into church more than I was. I mean, I left church and she got really involved in it, which when I was a kid, I was really involved in it and she was not, So,
Ah, interesting.
um, but as she was older, and for her, I think church was really a social thing.
Yeah, as it is for most. Yeah,
And she
and an
also,
obligatory thing. Yeah,
yes, oh yeah, for sure. I'm a good person because I go to church.
exactly.
Um, but and also my mom is so funny. I mean, my mom respected her mom so much, and that she always wanted to be like her, which was funny. And
Oh,
my grandmother, but my grandmother was like that too. She went through long periods of not being very I mean, she smoked, she drank, she cussed, and
uh,
so she went through her periods of not being real
yeah,
churchy either. But
yes.
anyway, my mom, we had these arguments where, she did not want to be taken to the hospital. She did not, no matter what. And I said, well, if you were like laying on the floor, you fell down and busted your head and you were bleeding to death, you would not want me to call an ambulance or something. No, absolutely not, blah, blah, blah. And then she gets,
Isn't that incredible? The self-importance involved in that.
I know.
I mean,
But
that's the bottom root of that, right?
yeah,
Self-importance.
but the other thing about that was, when she got diagnosed with this terrible, weird cancer, what happened?
That all went out the window.
Yes, totally out the.
It's fascinating how people get caught up in these bubbles of belief. And all it is look how pious I am, look at all this, just self-importance.
But you know what else? And I've thought so much about this. Did I talk to you about this? I know I talked to Erica.
Oh, you can always talk again, so no worries.
Well, I think I might have talked to you
I'm quite
about.
happy to hear things multiple times. Never a problem for me. It's always new.
Oh, good.
Always new.
Well,
Really, always new. It's amazing.
it was one of the Brene Brown things that I heard. I was listening to. It was a kind of an old one. It was an interview with Oprah that she
Mm.
did years ago, and she said, "Faith without vulnerability or mystery leads to extremism.
Yeah.
And she said, if you have got all the answers, if you think you have all the answers,
Yeah.
then don't call that faith, because that's not what faith is.
Yeah.
And I think that made me start thinking so much. She talked about people's desire um, for certainty, and how our desire for certainty leads us to be, that's where religion gets screwed up, is that we think we want so much to be certain of things. We want so much to be not only to be right, but to be certain that we are right. And I think my mom was like that 100%. And I think that's what happened to the church. People lost sight of, what was really good and true about it, and got into, this is right, and I am right, and I'm superior to everybody because I know the truth, and all this stuff. And but I do think that a lot of what I learned and loved about Christian Science, take away all the religious part of it, just take the meat of it, is incredible. And it matches and goes along with Way of Impeccability in an incredible way. And I think it's part of the reason I'm open to the Way of Impeccability, is because of learning those
It's
things.
not a belief system.
No.
They're tools for understanding. It's not a belief system. And it actually typically tends to intensify people's belief systems, but with a few tweaks.
Right.
They are less rigid, more open, more flexible, and yet their belief is at the same time intensified.
Right.
It's quite magical, because the tools enable you to identify what's really important to you.
Right.
And that's what matters. The rest is just fluff.
Right.
Furthermore, the key point of this, the thread, the theme that we're talking about, this different way of understanding the world, those first two tasks there, right? Yes. About things that, the movie, things that happen that are unusual, at the last minute, something happens and then you kind of get, get resolution, right? You cannot depend on that. Rule number one, right? None of the heroes ever depend on that.
Right. Right.
So rule number two is impeccability, which means that stuff only happens if you've done everything you can possibly do. That's the key element, right? Had you now not taken, all the steps and serviced your car and all that, well, you would have had to pay somebody to come and do it,
Right.
You weren't in the right appropriate place. So, all right, you had made the effort. That's what makes that story so perfect. You even had the fuel filter, and it was something. The beauty of that story is the reason you couldn't do it is because the solution lay completely outside of reasonable expectation. To look under the back seat. I mean, for heaven's sake, seriously. Yeah. So so you see the logic there of the system, that we get this when we do everything else we can, and the reason we can't go further is because what we need is outside of our comprehension.
Right.
So this is the problem with most religions. They like to say the first part, well, just have faith, trust in God, but they don't introduce the part about impeccability.
Exactly. And what's so funny about that? That's the
flaw of it all. It has to go together. Same with trust. Trust and faith, very much the same thing, right? Trust is a little bit more sophisticated usage of faith, yeah? So but still, it needs to be based on impeccability. It's the key. It's why it's called Way of Impeccability, not way of anything else. Yeah.
I agree. And that is coming so clear to me. And that's such a huge thing. And I do think, well, in the story of the Jedi and all of that, I think that point is made really strongly. And it really made me think about, there's so much, the whole idea of wanting to be rescued, or wanting to be, wanting someone else to do something for me or take care of me or whatever. um, that that is just a huge theme. And I think that's what this story talks about to me is, and that's where the self-reliance comes in. I mean, self-reliance and impeccability are virtually the same thing. Um, if we are being self-reliant and we are doing everything that we can do and know how to do and are capable of doing, that's being impeccable. And
Yeah.
if we don't have that part, I mean, in the story, that's how the force was lost, was that people started depending on the force without doing anything themselves.
Exactly. That's what religion tries to tell
And
you.
that's what religion
Exactly. Because religion is saying you can just see the intent of those setting up the religion. Yeah, but if I get them, they do it on their own, and they won't need me. Right?
right.
The priest, whoever's in charge, they won't need me. I won't have control. It's astonishing. It's like so obvious when you really start looking at it, you know.
Yes. Oh, I know. Let's see. I want to write some of this here real quick. I do think that that is how religion gets screwed up, is that we think that we can just, that it's the right thing to do to just turn everything over to God. And it's sort of like that story about praying, the guy who prays to God to rescue him. The story I heard was he's in a flood and he goes up to the roof of his house to try to avoid the flood. And he's praying that God will rescue him. And the boat comes by and they try to get him to get in the boat and he won't get in, because he says, no, I'm waiting for God. God's going to rescue me. And the boat goes on. And then pretty soon a helicopter comes by and the helicopter guy says, come on, get in. And he says, no, I'm waiting for God to rescue me. And
Exactly,
yeah.
exactly. It's just astonishing how people don't learn from that story, right?
But yeah, I mean, okay, I have to say this is a little bit of an aside, but I forgot to
Ah,
tell you this the other day. When I was having that big long conversation with Phil the other day, um, it was funny because I think he was really surprised that I kept bringing up things that were things that we had really struggled with in our relationship. And he
interesting.
even mentioned that a couple times. Well, yeah, I think he was really surprised that I was like kind of hitting it head on. I was not
Yeah, that you're
avoiding.
willing to go into it. It's
Yes.
fantastic.
And I heard myself say, which was funny because the words came out and all of a sudden all the bells started going off in my own head like, wow, I cannot believe I just heard you say that. I said something about how, I had really lost trust in him because I wanted him to, be someone that would be protective of me and be it would rescue me. I heard myself say those words. And
Oh,
and you put me in positions over and over and over that for me were unsafe or scary or whatever. And instead of being the person who protected and rescued me, you were the person who put me in these bad situations.
hmm.
And I honestly don't even remember what his response was, but I remember me recognizing that and going, wow, that's what I was expecting. No wonder our relationship was screwed up. I
Oh,
mean, I was expecting him to be my rescuer or my protector, no
Yeah.
wonder our relationship was screwed up. That, and that was on me. That wasn't his problem. That was mine. And
Yeah.
and that's so awesome. It's so awesome that it was my mistake, because I can fix that now.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And that means I don't have to get into any kind of a situation like that again, because I can recognize that I don't want that anymore. I don't want someone else to be my rescuer or my protector.
Exactly. Exactly. You don't
You
want
know,
it. Exactly.
now, if somebody put me in a situation that I felt unsafe, or that I felt was, hurtful or harmful to me, because I am my own rescuer, I am my own protector, I would be much more willing to say, hey, I'm not doing that. I'm not getting into that situation, because I'm taking care of myself. I'm preventing myself from being put in that situation.
Exactly. You're
I
in charge.
Yeah. Wow. I was like, wow, it was really cool. I am so happy that
Exactly.
I have had the opportunity to go back and kind of work these things out, talking
Yes.
directly with him.
Yes.
You don't
Yes.
get that
That
very
you
often.
have.
That's
Exactly.
unusual,
Exactly. You don't have it with your mom, but you have it with Phil.
right?
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting too.
Oh, good.
No, all I was going to say was, but you had brought this up, and you brought it up a couple times, and I think it's so big and important that so many of the things in our culture were organized and put into place by BMNs.
Exactly. It's astonishing. You start to look around. It's like
Yes. Like,
pretty much everything, because people who aren't BMNs, they don't bother. It's like,
right.
I'm not going to bother to tell you what to do. I got my own stuff to worry about.
I know. And once you start seeing that, you sort of like see it everywhere. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
I see what's happening here. I see how this is working.
Yeah.
And it is a little bit like, I remember when I was going down for the teacher walkout. And I watched the legislature, which is like 99% BMNs,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
and that's what they do, is they make laws, that, oh, just that. But anyway, I remember thinking to myself, these people are going to be doing what they're doing, whether I pay attention or not. I have
Yeah.
never paid attention. I have never cared. I
Yeah.
think it's dirty, slimy, stinky, nasty, and I don't want to have anything to do with it. So I'm going to ignore it. I'm going to put my blinders
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
I'm not going to look at it and
Yeah.
pretend it's not there. But they're going to be doing their thing, whether I am paying attention or not. So I probably should be paying more attention.
Yeah.
But how interesting. I mean, they are a perfect example of BMNs creating our culture and creating our environment to suit them. It's to me,
It's astonishing, and
yeah.
we give that power away.
Yes.
Yeah.
But how funny that I heard myself saying that out loud to Phil. I wanted you to rescue me. When I said that, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that. I can't believe I really thought that,
No, no.
So anyway, it was kind of interesting. But
That's powerful. That's really powerful.
so
Very, very cool.
being in charge of yourself and doing what is impeccable, actually applying and putting into practice every single thing that you can do first, before there's any trust, before there's any faith, before there's any, whatever, is such a huge part
Yeah.
of how this whole thing works. And how I loved in the story the idea that we don't use the force.
Yes. Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
sure that's down in here somewhere. I haven't gotten that
Yeah,
far.
yeah.
Anyway, so I really do think that my early experience with Christian Science has given me a completely different perspective on the world and has allowed me to be open to a lot of ideas that a lot of people think are kind of nutso. And I think they're perfectly normal, including, including a lot of the ideas in Way of Impeccability. I think Way of Impeccability is natural and very easy to accept for me because I have thought along those lines for a long time. So nothing is
Yeah. And
wasted.
that's powerful to be aware that it is something natural and easy for you. In
Right,
other words, that you have a predilection towards it.
right. Which, I mean, when you think about it, it's not just having been exposed to that as a kid, because my mom was exposed to it as a kid.
No, it's you.
Me,
It's your choice, your desire, your connection, your intimacy, your resonance, your predilection. Yeah.
right.
Very important to be aware of.
It is.
Very,
It's pretty
very,
cool.
very, very important to be aware of.
And it's
That's very powerful.
also, I think we talked about this last time a little bit. I am kind of fascinated with the idea. I feel like I am getting ready to move into a new part of my life.
Yes,
And
yes, the celebration of K
exactly,
and the embrace of mourners K. Yes,
right.
real
And,
K, full
and
K,
I and I feel
capital
like
K.
um I feel like I'm going to be meeting new people and kind of
Yes,
surrounding myself
yes,
with a
yes.
new group of people. And I keep thinking about that. And I'm thinking about, okay, so I am seeing parts of myself that are coming to the front that,
Yes.
whatever, they're not really new, but
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
um,
No, you're just activating parts that are already there, using them, practicing them, actualizing them, yeah, celebrating them, practicing them,
so
putting them to use.
I'm thinking about how relationships, obviously the first relationship that you have to really work on and develop is the relationship with yourself. And I think that's what we have been working on a lot
Yes,
in the last
yes,
year.
absolutely. It's our focus. Absolutely.
So relationship with yourself, and relationship with the universe. Um, and once you have that, you've made some adjustments and clarifications with that, then it starts to go out a little bit.
Yeah.
And so thinking about my relationship with myself and how that has changed, then I think that will make new relationships with other people, the other people will be more in that same mindset. Does that make sense? Kind of. I mean, I keep
It
thinking,
does. I'm just curious why you think it doesn't.
well, I think it doesn't.
Yeah. Or why you checking so much that
Oh,
it makes sense. It's sort of obvious, isn't
well,
it?
I don't know, just because, I wasn't sure you were with me on this. You didn't.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Um,
We have to make space for new relationships.
right, right,
So
right.
that means sometimes a bit of pruning needs to happen. You've got to, or clearing something in your garden.
I know. I feel like that's happening. I feel like that is
Yeah.
really happening. But I also want to be awake and aware of new things. And I don't know. I don't really know. I'm just thinking. And I keep thinking about, well, the word that keeps coming to me is enlightened.
Interesting.
Enlightened.
Interesting. Oh
And
yeah. Oh, that's very powerful. Yeah, yeah.
I feel
I'm wary of that word because it comes with a lot of baggage.
Well, this is true. This is true.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that, I don't know, maybe that's why the word keeps coming. But I think I heard that word used in a way that got my attention one day. And I don't remember what it was. It was one of the podcasts I was listening to, and they were talking about, I don't remember the exact context, but it was something like, it's really going to be up for change to happen. And I don't remember, like I say, I don't remember if
It's
it,
really going to be what?
I don't remember what kind of change they were talking about, but it was sort of cultural change.
Ah,
Um, for that kind of change to happen, it's going to take, it's funny they said this, women, a lot of women, and enlightened men to get involved and get this done.
hmm.
I don't remember if it was had to do with women or if it had to do with all the racial things that are happening, or I don't remember the context of it, but it just kind of stuck out to me. And to be honest, I thought to myself, enlightened men. I don't think I know a lot of those. And so, I mean, I know you still, but I don't
Ah,
know. I
I have
don't
no
really know a
idea
lot.
whether I don't even think in those terms. I just think I am me, I'm doing my thing, I'm learning, I'm growing. Whether I'm enlightened or not to me is totally irrelevant. I have no idea. I try to stay away from that because it's kind of, can suck one in a little bit.
Right.
I'm
Well,
cautious.
but when
Cautious.
you think, I mean, I guess in part, and maybe you're in the same situation, you just don't even think about it, but
I don't. Yeah.
I'm kind of surrounded by
Bye.
unenlightened people.
Yes.
You
Yes. Yes.
know, in Oklahoma City, there's a
Yeah.
lot of unenlightened people.
Yeah.
And so it
I
just,
have all my life too, by the way.
you what?
I have. That's why one of the reasons, one of my intents, when I set up the program and the universe said, probably God's got to, force me into doing this. And so, okay, I got to do this now. And, then I get excited about doing it. And I shift to being up positive and desirous of being it. But of course, part of the steps is clarity of intent. So many reasons for doing it. One of them specifically is to connect to people whom I want to connect to.
There you go.
I
Okay.
mean, if I look at like my Facebook friends, even now, I don't really. I used to interact a lot on my own timeline and post, and people would comment, and I had a little bit of couple people who would regularly comment. Only one person really had a bit of moreness going on. For the rest, it's like they didn't get a clue of what I'm talking about.
Right.
I don't hold it against them. I'm friends with many people who still don't have that. They're very nice people, but that's it. They're just nice people, and I make an effort to be nice, and I enjoy their niceness and goodness and their simplicity. But I also want others. Well,
Right. I guess that's kind of what I'm saying, and I don't, that may be part of figuring out what, or at least being open and recognizing what is next for me
yeah, yeah.
is
What do
connecting.
I want?
What do I
Exactly.
want? Connecting with people who have and appreciate moreness.
Yeah.
Now how that works with you, it worked with doing this uh, this program. For me, I don't know. I'm writing this down. Okay, that's interesting. That's kind of helpful to me.
Yeah. 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 It's very helpful.
Clarity of
Very, very, very powerful. Very, very powerful.
clarity. Okay. Well, let's go back here, unless you have something else you wanted to say there.
Mhm.
The next task or question or whatever was, how often have you looked around you at the world, at circumstance, situation, anything, looked deliberately with the intent to find some solution or clue to solution to what's going on inside you? If so, what happened? Well, of course, do that all the time. But I need to think of specific examples.
All right. So how often have you looked around you at the world, at circumstance, situation, anything, look deliberately with the intent to find some solution or clue to solution? The key is that last part, to what's going on inside you
Right.
at that time, right? So it's that connectivity between what's now current, and when the stuff does come, it's now. It's not future, it's now.
Right.
That's a very important thing to understand. You know, the force is very now orientated, let's put it that way. It doesn't understand anything else because it's too complex to solve a future problem.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, think if you are the force and somebody puts out an intent and asks you for your assistance, right? Because they've done everything they can, they're stuck, right? So they request your help. And you're like, you know, AAA on call. They can't request a future AAA call. You say, sorry, all my agents are busy. It's like, how can I know when to be there for you in the future? I can't
Right.
come out on call for you on the future. You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
can't say, I'm going to have a future problem, fix it now.
Right.
It doesn't work.
Right.
So, exactly. Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah. So all of this is, you know, a really potent perspective on this is think of yourself as the force. Yeah, well, you are. You're a parent. Yeah. You're always there for your kid, but you don't want your kid calling you up every day. Bail me out, bail me out, bail me out, help me with this, help me with that.
Right.
But bloody hell, you know, learn to do stuff for yourself. Click buy, you know, right? So,
Good point. Very good point.
right. So this is a key issue. That's why that point is to, you know, we use the use of force sparingly.
I like the AAA analogy. I think
Yeah.
that's really good
Yeah.
because you don't call AAA all the time. I mean,
No, and you don't call AAA when you just lost, for instance. You know, you can figure that out yourself, bloody hell, you know.
or
Yeah.
and you don't plan ahead to call AAA and say,
Exactly.
you
You
know,
don't
tomorrow I'm going
anticipate.
to have a flat tire, so I'm
Yeah,
going to need you
yeah,
to come.
exactly.
No.
And
Oop, I lost you. I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
when you could theoretically say, well, I don't need a tire because, well, you know, oh. Oh, what happened? Did I put my phone off? Am I here?
You're back. You're back.
Okay. You know, you can say, well, if I get a flat tire, I'll get a AAA to come and fix it. So I don't need to have a spare. You know, you get the flat tire service, but they don't actually fix your tire. They'll replace it for you with your spare, but they don't actually fix the tire. They're going to charge you an arm and a leg to actually repair your tire. You know, they'll pump it up if it's just flat, but if it's actually punctured, you don't have a spare, you're in trouble. So, you know, you can't sort of rely on them to do everything either. You know, they'll do some things, but that's it. Yeah.
Okay,
Now,
this reminded me of another weird story, a story of some weird thing that happened to me. Um, and I don't know. We have to think about
I
this.
do like the AAA analogy because
I do
when you
too.
think of
This is
AAA being the A plus, then
this is a AAA story, actually.
interesting.
Um, After, Phil and I were divorced, but we were still going through all this stuff. And he had moved to Michigan. And, I told you about how his wife and son had both passed away pretty much right before he and I met. And so, something we used to do was go to the cemetery and we would, put flowers on their graves, like for Memorial Day, for 4th of July, for Mother's Day, for, whatever. And I often ended up, sort of doing the flowers. And I really helped with all that, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It was something important to him. And I, joined in. And So when he was gone, he had left, and I don't know if it was Memorial Day or whatever, but anyway, I went over there, even though, we were not married anymore and it was not in any way my responsibility. Um, I knew he wasn't there or whatever, so I took some flowers over there. So I get into the cemetery and I pull up to where I actually had several experiences in the cemetery where I felt really connected to Phil's first wife.
Wow.
And also to his mom. His mom is over there too. And this time, though, I went in, I drove in, I, did the flowers and everything, and I was leaving, and I got 2 flat tires
Wow.
right by their grave. And I was
So you went to the grave, and when you came back, you had 2 flat tires?
I didn't even, I just barely, I went around, I went, stopped where their grave, where Janet's grave and the son, Nick, and I just went around, and I mean, I barely had gone anywhere, and instantly 2 flat tires, I couldn't move anymore.
Oh, so you just started to drive away, and then you
Yeah,
discovered
I
that
was,
the 2 flat tires. Oh,
yeah, I was right
so
there.
likely you had them when you drove away, but didn't realize.
Right.
You didn't see it.
So
And
there
were
are,
they on your side or the other side or front,
ooh,
back?
that's
How
a
were
good
they?
point. That is a good point. I'm not sure. I can't remember for sure.
Picture, when the car was up on the jacks, which side was the jack?
I feel like it was on the other side.
Yeah, it's probably why you didn't see it. That's fascinating. That's fascinating. So what? Anyway, keep going with the story.
No.
Keep going.
Okay,
Not
so
really.
I was stuck in the cemetery. I mean,
Wow.
and so I had to call AAA, and they came, into the cemetery, and and it was 2. So I don't honestly remember because, I only would have had 1 spare.
Yeah, but they may just have pumped one of them.
Maybe, I don't know. I don't remember what they did, but they probably.
That's really interesting.
But I had to sit in the cemetery, right, for like at least 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And it was really uncomfortable and weird.
Interesting.
And I felt at the time like Janet, Phil's wife, was mad at me.
Huh. Very interesting. How come? Why would she be mad at you? Or,
I got the feel. I mean, like I say, these are things that are in your own mind, and it just bring it out. But I felt like she was mad at me because Phil was unhappy, and so she was kind of being protective of him, and like I had done something bad to him.
Yeah. I mean, it's very interesting that that might have its own reality or absolute projection, of your own feelings. So.
Oh yeah. Isn't that funny though? So AAA came and took care of it, and I got out of the cemetery and went on.
But it forced you to sit and reflect for a little while.
It did. It made me. I couldn't move. I was stuck. So it was interesting.
That's very interesting. That's very, very interesting indeed. Yes.
So anyway.
So what did you think about while you were sitting there?
It's a shame that was a long time ago, so I don't honestly remember all that. But I think a lot.
How did your perspective change towards Phil's mom?
I don't think it changed in terms of his mom, but his wife. There were a lot of instances where I felt bad feelings. And
the grave was of his ex-wife, not his mom. Sorry, right?
Well, okay. His mom was over in one section. And then his wife and son are
Oh,
over.
but you had gone to visit the wife and son, not the mom. I must remember. Sorry. Yeah,
So, well, I think I had probably done both, but I think maybe I had done his mom already, and I went around and did then.
yeah. Mm.
And I will tell you this: I have not been in that cemetery again.
Wow. Brilliant.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
and
Brilliant.
I realized, I think, that was not my job anymore.
Correct.
And
Correct. It was inappropriate,
right,
really. Yeah.
right, and
Good
if
deal.
Phil wanted flowers on his wife and son's grave, he needed to arrange for that himself, and it was not my job. But there were a couple of instances, and Erica had that weird experience that time in the house because Phil's wife and son had lived in the house that we lived in,
Yeah. Yeah.
and she had several experiences where she said ghosts, but it was like, it was weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
Fascinating.
yeah.
So that's
So,
good that you never went back, because if you did feel that to be an influence from there, and that connectivity, and the fact that you sitting in the graveyard is very uncomfortable, that's kind of a clue.
mhm.
Now, are you uncomfortable in graveyards in general, or just that particular one?
I'm not really uncomfortable in that particular one. It's just,
Just was that day.
it was that, I felt
Very
like
good.
that whole thing of being
Yeah.
responsible for taking care of their grave, that wasn't my job
Yeah,
anymore.
yeah, and it shouldn't be
No,
exactly.
no, it shouldn't. But no, I really don't feel uncomfortable. I go, I go sometimes to the cemetery where all of my family is buried, and I
Yeah.
don't feel weird there.
Yeah, I mean, normally, not for most people. Some people have a preconceived bias, and they feel uncomfortable, but they're usually pretty peaceful, meditative, beautiful places.
Mhm, 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 mhm. Yeah. So
They're
anyway,
nice parks. If you think of them as a park, they're pretty nice parks, no?
I know, really, they're usually beautiful.
Exactly.
Um, but one time, I had given Phil a picture of the two of us, and it was up on a shelf, kind of a bedside thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And I had bought this really pretty frame, and so he had it over there. And after I don't know if we were actually divorced, or we were working on getting back together, or we were having some kind of problems.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I was there, and for absolutely no apparent reason, the picture fell off of the shelf. The glass broke, and the glass
Wow.
scratched the picture right on my nose.
Ha.
And at the time,
The glass scratched the picture right on your nose.
Mhm.
Wow. And what was going on at the time?
going on at the time was, Phil and I were having all these problems, and
Yeah.
and I mean, like I say, all of this stuff. Well, I guess my point is, you're saying when these things happen, you have to look at what is happening for yourself, and what does it
At
mean
the
to
time,
you
yeah.
at the time. And what it meant to me at the time was that, his wife did not approve of me and was trying to get me the heck out of there.
Yeah.
So, and we also had a thing where there was a cardinal that would um, would be outside the window of this house, and it would kind of follow Phil around whatever room he was in.
Yeah.
The bird would go right outside the window of wherever he was, and it would like throw itself at the window all the time. and it would make all this noise and crazy. It went on for like, I don't know, 6, 8 weeks. It was the craziest thing. So there were a lot of weird things that happened. Oh, I can't hear you again.
Went on for how long?
Do what now?
It went on for how long? That's where you stopped.
At least.
Hang on, let me
Really
change
long
my
time.
connection. Hang on. I said, just as you said, at least, and then it dropped off. So I want to hear this. I want to hear. I'd like to miss anything you say.
Okay. Oh, I can't hear you. I see your lips moving, but I cannot hear you.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. So you said, was saying it went on for at least
6 or 8 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really a long
What did
time.
Phil make of it?
Oh, he thought it was, somebody trying to give him a message, but he didn't know who it was or what the message was. So
What? Yeah. I'm saying what? I mean, obviously did he ever open a window for the cardinal?
I think he did.
And what happened?
I don't remember if it came in. I had to have to find out. But I mean, I have it.
Ask him next time you talk to him. Ask him.
I will. I have.
I mean, did the cardinal attack him or what?
Oh no. I have a video of it. I have a couple of videos. It was the craziest thing. I mean, it would just slam itself against the window.
Wow, you actually have video of it. Wow,
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see the video.
Yeah. I'm writing this.
Yeah, the birds. It's quite the theme. Like Sher and Donna and a few others. Birds are significant. Like this. The instances and Cheryl especially, she has this cardinal as well and other birds that kind of follow her around and connect, especially when she was very upset when she lost her dog, who she was very connected to.
Right.
They come into her life. So
I know, it's interesting. Yeah. So,
at times of emotional distress,
right.
It seems to affect some birds in this way.
Right. Isn't that interesting? I think that's really cool.
So what was going on at that time between you and Phil and Erica?
Erica was married to Joe. She was in Pennsylvania.
This was not while Erica was still a teenager. I didn't realize it was so late.
No, this was later. And then, with me and Phil, he was going through, his business was just, and he said something the other day that I had, Sarah, leave it alone. She has a spot that she keeps licking. It's not good. He said something, when he was talking about appreciating me and saying good things about me or whatever. He was talking about how he was in the middle of a lawsuit, and I had actually kind of forgotten about that. And I don't even, to be honest, I can't remember what it was all about right now. But there was a manufacturer that was suing him.
That's serious.
That's very serious.
It's not a trivial lawsuit, I mean, that's kind of a big deal.
So he was in the middle of that. The business was, failing. All these really hard, bad things were happening. He was trying to salvage whatever he could, from the business and trying to get the house sold so he didn't lose everything, that he had put into the house. And, basically he lost everything that he had worked really hard for a really long time for. And, it was just a really bad situation. So, And
Very
I think
interesting.
that's part of why I have had to deal with feeling guilty, um, because he was going through a terrible time. I did, even though we got divorced and all that. I worked really hard to help him with his business and with the house and all of that, trying to keep him from completely losing everything and falling apart. Uh, and I have felt guilty for getting divorced from him during that time because it felt like I was abandoning him when he was having a hard time. But you know what occurred to me at one point?
I'm listening. I mean, again, there's no guilt. Timing has nothing to do with it. Especially since all of that troubles is, Phil has to take responsibility. It's not out of,
No, I didn't do it. I mean, it wasn't me.
yeah,
But the other thing that occurred to me was, even though I was the one that was always questioning about our relationship being a good thing, he is the one who initiated the divorce.
So,
So
well, so where's your guilt? That doesn't make
that's
any sense
exactly
then.
right.
If he initiated
That,
things.
honestly, that's what helped me get rid of all that guilt feeling, is because I thought, well, wait a minute, I didn't divorce him. He divorced me.
Yeah.
So there you go.
It's amazing how people feel guilty for things that they have no responsibility for. I find it absolutely fascinating. I find this all the time. I see this, assumption of guilt, unreasonably so. Why?
Exactly.
Now, a lot of it that would be queuing, even though Phil initiated, you know, he may make you feel guilty just to absolve himself.
Right. Well, and his thing at the time was, he said, well, you are just hell bent and determined that we're going to get divorced. So I'm just going to go ahead and do it, whatever. So, and my mother, by the way, told him at one time, way before this happened, but apparently they had some discussion, and she told him, well, if you two are ever going to get divorced, you're going to have to be the one to do it, because Kay won't ever, she won't ever get it done.
Interesting. That was very interesting. Yeah, and your mom was probably right too, no?
Yes,
Then.
but what a thing to say,
Yeah, but still, it's somewhat, I mean, she never approved of Phil, I'm assuming, yeah?
She never approved of anybody.
Yeah.
Anybody ever. So, but she definitely didn't approve of him. So, and she was right. She was right. But still,
Yeah, that's
anyway.
quite fascinating.
Yes.
Very interesting. But
Okay.
it was helpful in the end, despite its inappropriateness.
I guess
Yeah.
so. I guess so. I wrote down something that was a quote from the lesson, and I didn't. It looks like there was a mistake.
Oh, very good. Oh,
No,
that's quite
no,
possible. I did
no,
this
it
quite
wasn't a
quickly.
mistake. It was not a mistake in the original. I think when I typed it, there's something.
I see. Let's hear.
Okay, the more, and the word is tend, and that's not the right word, I can promise you. The more we tend our awareness, the more we hear the music of the universe.
Oh, it's absolutely the right word. Don't you tend your garden?
Okay, all right. So I'm just not thinking in context. Okay.
Yeah.
The more.
Now, I mean, it's very deliberate, the word. It's tend your awareness, very much like you tend the garden, right?
Okay, that makes sense.
What did you think it could be otherwise?
I don't know. Well, I just reread it just a minute ago.
I see. I just didn't grab you. Yeah.
Okay. So the more we tend our awareness, the more we hear the music of the universe. The more we hear, the more we fine tune. Oh, wait a minute. The more we hear, the more we fine tune, the easier it is to dance with life.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a wow for me.
Yes. And this is what's giving me great joy. Just turn you up. I had to put the air conditioner on, but then I have to turn the volume up. So,
Yeah.
yes, to me, I see Kay starting to dance with life.
Dance with life. Isn't that awesome? What a great,
Yeah,
that is beautiful writing, by the way. So
thank you.
I love
Thank you.
it.
I do
Uh,
like. I have a little thing about the dance with life. I like that. There's an extended part to that. I think it's a longer quote on it. Sometimes I have multiple ones, on the same thing.
sure.
Say it in different ways. I just save them all. I like doing that because it's kind of keen. It's kind of fun to see. Biela's got a book, by the way, called Dance with Life.
Aha.
I mean, I have to put content in it. It's got some content, but
Right.
put it out. Yeah.
Well, I love that. That
Okay,
is
so here's a quote from Dance with Life by Biela Noble.
okay.
Attunement to all, since we're on attunement,
Yes.
while doing and being aware of that attunement, that's the ticket. Then the love flows. So do the implications, associations, connections. That's the power of attunement. It enables the flow from within.
Ooh, I
Yeah,
like that a lot. That is awesome.
yeah. I'll send it to you in a second. Yeah.
Yeah, that is very cool. Yeah, I do feel like that is kind of happening for me.
So
Learn-
it's one of the supplemental works.
Right.
There's the Biela series books, and then I do quotes. But all those quotes, I attributed them to supplemental works. Now,
Mm,
some of those supplemental works have some content, some have very little, some will only have a little, some will be full on books and works. But I don't know, it's just my own personal fun that the things that I quote in the story come from a little mini library, which I also that it's part of the bigger universe. You understand what I mean? It's
yeah,
not a library from somewhere else, you see. Yeah.
I like it.
So this happens to be a book but some it could be insights of the new nobility or understandings of the new nobility or snippets of conversation, stuff like that. I don't know, it just gives me a thrill. Just makes me very happy, that idea, that logic, that you create your own extended universe.
Sure.
I'll put the quote in chat. But let me look again because that's not the quote I was looking for. I'm not sure. Because it's Dance with Life, the book. That's why Dance with Life coming. I'm looking for the quote that a quote that has Dance with Life in it.
It says
Um,
fine noble.
yeah. Fine Noble. Yeah, there's a bunch of quotes by Fine Noble as well. Yeah. Um, uh, oh. So the more we extend our awareness, the more we hear the music of the universe. The
Okay.
more we hear, the more we fine tune, the easier it is to dance with life. That's why you must remember it as it's extend, not tend. But I actually either way
I
tend
like them
or
both.
extend.
I like them both. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But
But there's
I mean
so
that is cool. I love that idea.
yeah,
I mean, and that's true. If you're dancing, the more you hear the music, the easier it is to dance.
exactly. Oh, not finding the quote that I'm looking for. Oh, maybe there. Dang it. Too far.
Okay, while you're looking, I'm gonna go to the restroom really fast.
Okay.
Sarah, you on yourself again. You stay right there. look out. Look out. Okay, look out. Okay. Okay. All right. Did you find it?
No, but I saw it a second.
Okay, well then hang on one second.
But there's some interesting ones that come up: to fly, to sing, to dance, to be. There is no where to, only here now.
Okay, I'm sorry. Say it again.
To fly, to sing, to dance, to be. There is no where to, only here now. The Ellen Noble.
I like it. I like it.
Nowhere to when it comes to this, right? Only here now.
That's awesome. Huh.
Yeah. This is the one I was looking for. Biala explained that take on life as an agent of the universe or its lover, and then the exquisite dance begins, the dance of power, the dance of joy, the dance of freedom. For it is a dance of control, a dance of responsibility, a dance of awareness and attention. In this dance, we take up the task of managing the mood of the universe, of the world, and everything in it. It's a stupendous undertaking. It's an impossibility, and yet we try. We dance and dance like never before. We never relent in our dance of joy, in our dance of cheer, in our dance of positivity. It's our task to be good, to set the tone, to supply the mood. Our personal feelings become irrelevant. We have undertaken the most sublime challenge possible, the challenge of, and then it goes on a little bit more. Yeah.
Cool.
The challenge of a lifetime. It's a challenge to always be our best, to always be the most appropriate we can be in all contexts. And what is appropriate? What can we be sure of as always being appropriate? Goodness, of course. But doing what's good is difficult to know. However, feeling good, we know, contributes to the goodness of the world, the goodness of everything. If we contribute to the feeling of goodness wherever we are adding to the goodness of the world. What a challenge. Right. So this is, dancing with life. So it's in way of impeccability, this piece somewhere.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
It's one of the sessions.
Well, we'll have to go back and check it out because I really like it.
I remember one it's in. So there's a lot here. It's a long thing. So are you feeling the power? What do you mean? It's one of my favorite pools. So it's a very cool. It's a long quote. There's a lot more to it. So
We'll have to go back and find it. Sounds really cool.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that this whole thing made me remember, I think I told you one time before about how I got to hear this man who worked for SETI, and gosh, he was so interesting and wow, and he was I can't remember if I told you this part, but he was so intelligent that you could feel his intelligence. I don't know how to even explain it, but you walked in the room and it was like this feeling. I mean, I was crazy. And I've been around a lot of smart people, but this guy was totally off the charts, and his picture of the world and of our world was so huge because he deals with the universe, I mean, his neighborhood is so big,
Nice.
It was really super interesting. But one of the things he said, and I don't know the context and I don't know, but I remember him saying that the word universe is universe.
Yeah.
Which is
that's singular.
One song.
Yeah.
I mean, how cool is that? So the music of the universe is like, wow, I don't know. It's just something to think about. I haven't thought it through at all, but I just think it's super interesting. So
yeah. Yes.
Um,
And if you think of that song as a song of intent,
mm,
you know, dark matter, the underlying force that combines it all, or God, or whatever sentience you want to give it to, or superpower, or just simply intent. When you see that the cohesive force, or understand that there is a cohesive force, and they don't know what it is. Well, I know what it is. Very simple. It's intent. Well, duh. There you go. You know, when you see it as intent, everything falls into place. And then when you see the expression of that intent as song,
wow. Mm,
it all makes sense. It all suddenly fits. It's like, well, duh. You know,
yeah, that is interesting.
you know,
Wow.
or poetry, either way, same thing. But a song is usually a celebration of moreness now, right?
Right. Celebration of Morn is a song. I need to find out more about that. Okay. Um, it's interesting that we think of birds, we say that birds sing and whales sing. Um, I mean, are they celebrating Mornis? Are they communicating? Are they?
Say again. You cut out there.
Well, I'm just thinking about in nature that we say that birds sing.
Yeah, we
We
don't know if they are.
we say that whales sing.
Yeah,
Um, why do we call that a song? Why do we say
yeah,
it's
no,
singing?
yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly. It's just because of appearance of it to us. They may just be, sharing shopping lists for all we know.
right.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the whales. I can see why they call it a whale song, because it's long, drawn out sounds like singing. But if you listen to most birds, they don't necessarily sing. It's not a long, they're not going tweet, tweet, tweet. They don't tweet. It's short, sharp, so yeah,
Right,
yeah. So with those whales, it's definitely, mimics the sound characteristics of singing. But birds, no.
right, right.
Well, not sometimes, but not always.
I don't know. That's just making me think. Anyway,
Yeah.
anyway, I like that idea. I have to think about that. Whoops.
I guess it's just pleasant to our ears, so that's probably
Right.
why.
I just think it sounds like a song. Okay, so the next question says, how aware are you of what is intimately going on inside you? How would you determine what it is or might be? Um, again, for me, through Way of Impeccability, through all the things I've been learning in the past year, um, I feel like I am becoming more and more aware of my own
Of
thoughts and feelings, um,
more and more aware of your own one.
my own thoughts and feelings.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Somehow you've just gone very soft, even though I've got you full volume. I'll
Oh,
move you a
well,
little closer.
I'll
It's all
try to,
right.
here, I don't know if my thing gets louder, if that helps or not, but,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um,
No, it's all good. You
okay.
may just be sitting slightly further away.
Or just talking quiet. Sometimes I
Yeah,
get kind of
yeah,
quiet.
yeah.
I
It's all good.
project. So I don't have, I mean, I think I am becoming more aware, but I don't have a lot of examples. So, uh, whoops. Good grief, I can't type. Okay. Uh, so I need to sit down and be very specific about examples. I kind of just went through this the first time and if I didn't think of something right away, I just moved on to the next thing.
Yeah,
So I need to go back and really
yeah.
think about specifics. But I think is the point that you have made today and that you've made many other times is anomalies and signs or whatever you want to call it are only valuable as they relate to what is happening in our own thinking, in our own
At
experience
the time, yes.
at the time. Yes.
Yeah, that's very key. That's very key. I mean, it may be something that's been ongoing with you for a while, but if you were to, be pinged the moment before you saw the anomaly, and you were asked what was the thing that was kind of going on with you at the time, you may not have been thinking of it in that moment, but at that time, however that may have been weeks, months, years, doesn't matter. But at that time, whatever was the intent, the pressure in you, it's amazing how that's so critical.
It is. Well, and it makes me realize that the inside and the outside, internal, external, is not there, is the same. What goes on around us is very much an expression of what is going on inside of us. The next question says, can you think of examples where you might have used the force? Share, no matter if it's so or not. Share as much as you remember, or even if it's a maybe.
So you did share an example, but that question can go both ways. Where you deliberately used it or just used it, either way.
Right. Well, again, I think there are multitudes of examples, but not a whole lot of them have come up to the surface for me. So I have to think of it. I did write down a couple of things that did come, like.
Did you ever set? Sorry. To elaborate on that question, maybe a bit of prompting sometimes help. Okay. Did you ever set a deliberate intent, and like I really want this to happen, or conversely, or same thing but in a different format? Did you ever pray very hard for something specific?
Well, I will be honest, I don't think I have had a lot of conscious intents until I started Wave Impeccability.
Yeah, but I mean, say for instance, like, Erica is deeply upset about something, and you're like, I want to fix this. I want to resolve this. I want to help her. Now, it may not have been a conscious intent, but it's still an intent.
True. Well,
because there was an energy to it, right? It was a desire, a want, right, that you very most certainly wasn't an empty desire or want. You really did wanted to see resolution, yes?
Right. Okay, I thought of one when you said that. And that was, I really, really wanted Erica to have a dad.
And there you go. And so,
Now, unfortunately, I did not say appropriately.
Yes, and exactly. That's usually the problem, when we have intents. But your intent worked out really well.
Oh yeah.
In the bigger things. So, you left it to the universe to do it as appropriate. And right, when you consider, him leaving early and how that affected her, and then Phil trying to so inappropriately be the dad, and it made her aware of her own independence.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So, she never really needed that dad.
No.
But the dads that she did get made her aware that she wasn't missing anything.
Right.
So she never hankered after it, really.
Right.
Maybe I think a little bit, after the first dad left, but she Phil soon dispelled that idea.
True. Very true.
The inverse magic of Phil.
Right. There you go.
A nice book title for you, right? I know what you mean to Phil, but really that is, it is what it is. He had an inverse magic, opposite logic magic. Fantastic.
Right.
Still magic.
Yes, I like it. Okay, so some other examples. The way Sarah came into my life. I don't know that I wasn't like looking for a dog necessarily, but she,
But you
interesting.
may have just wanted companionship.
Exactly. Okay, this was during the time that Phil and I we were divorced, but we were still very much a part of each other's life. We were kind of supposedly trying to, work things out and
Work
get back
things out.
together,
Yeah.
whatever. And I was down at,
Sorry to interrupt you real quick.
yes.
Did you ever know people who started to work things out and who said, "Oh, you know what? We work things out."
Yeah, I do know
You
a
have
couple.
known it?
I do.
Very seldom I see, by the way.
It's pretty rare. It's pretty rare. But anyway, I mean, it was ill-fated, but
Yeah.
that's where I was. And I was down at his store, which is in a not super nice part of town. Not horrible, but not very nice part of town. And I think it was a weekend, and it was one of those days when I had, you know, worked all week at my own job and then come down and spent the weekend down there helping him trying to save his business and all that. And I was leaving, and I saw Sarah kind of on this. She was, really close to the store. I saw her and I thought, oh, cute little puppy, and
Wow.
but I didn't stop. I just was heading home. And Phil called me and said, hey, come back. And so I came back to the store, and he had Sarah. Sarah had come up to him, and, he could see getting close to her that she was lost and, in bad shape, whatever. And he said, oh, look what I found, whatever, and blah, blah, blah. And so, I mean, I think his idea was to just keep her from getting run over and, take her somewhere like a, shelter or something.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I put her in the car, and the moment that I put her in the car, I was like, she's mine, and it was so cute. She sat on the passenger seat, and I have pictures of her. It was really cute. She just sat there and she was all happy. And I took her home. I gave her a bath. I mean, I started crying. I was like,
Oh.
this is what I needed. I need.
Oh.
And I took her to the vet. She had worms and, all this stuff.
Yeah.
And he still had in mind that we were going to find somebody else to take her. And I
Hmm.
was like, nope, she's mine.
Good luck with that one.
Yeah, she's mine. She's mine. And, what a great companion she has been for me. So,
Oh, good.
that was one of those sort of unusual circumstances that I don't know that I would say I used the force, but
Yeah.
I plugged in. I plugged in to the
Yeah.
force.
Erica's biological father, that's an instance of using the force, is it not?
In meeting him.
In just a whole episode,
Oh yeah,
because you went out with a specific intent and it materialized.
that is true. That is true.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, you didn't expect the result from it,
right.
but nonetheless, you got a result that was magical. Yes.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
I mean, the force used you because used that first. He was your first husband, right? At the time.
Yes.
Yeah. And, as much as he had some father ability in him, he was still, I mean, he left.
Right.
So he was not appropriately fatherable. Yes.
Right. Right.
And you did want a child.
Yes.
So the universe put two and two together for you to say, well, okay, you may not pick the best fathers, but you can pick, so we can use this inappropriate choosing for you to get the best sire rather than father.
There you go.
See?
Right.
So, now you got the best of everything. See? But you had that, again, you had a very broad intent. Isn't that amazing how it all worked out?
It is amazing.
Right. But you left things up to the universe, to the force. And that's, it takes you on unusual paths, but typically it works out really, really well. Because what do we know? How would you have connected otherwise if things were just normal? Would that ever have been Erica Jane Sire?
No.
Exactly. See, it would never have happened. So you needed all this weird stuff to make it happen. Right. How cool is that?
Yeah. Well, and that goes along
when. That's where impeccability is so important, right? Because you can also get into trouble, but impeccability changes it all, right?
True. I lost what I was going to say. No, that's okay. It was something from the story that it will come back to me. It will come. That is interesting. All right, so the inverse magic of Bill. Okay. All right, so Sarah, coming into my experience was, I think, an example.
Well, you're going to make a note of, Erica's biological father.
I did.
Yeah, all right.
I got that. And how when you leave things up to the universe, it often takes you, I know what it was I was going to say. It often takes you on an unusual path, but everything.
Exactly.
Okay, in the story, I believe, and I think one of the questions later on is something about how do we make sure that we get the lessons from the universe in the nice way, if we pay attention.
Yes, that's a huge question.
If we pay attention, we can learn the lessons the nice way. If we don't pay attention, the universe keeps after it and keeps after us and keeps after us, and it may not be as nice the next time, but we are going to learn. So
yeah, there's something else as well that can ensure nice lessons.
What's that?
Think of your kids.
Besides being
what would ensure they get nice lessons from you?
Taking advantage and learning the first time?
Even more so than that.
Learning yourself, initiating the lesson yourself.
What can they do to make sure you give them lessons in the nicest possible way?
What can kids do to make sure?
Right. So this is now over and above the usual, okay, you come, you give your lesson, they listen and they take it in. Right. They can get it even more so by doing something.
Well, that's what I was saying. If they initiate the lesson themselves.
If they ask, in other words.
Yeah.
If they are desirous of learning and they come and ask you, you're going to go out of your way to give it to them in the nicest possible way.
This is a good point. Yes.
Right. I mean, if it's just a usual standard lesson, day class, okay, typically you're in a good mood, positive, you try and do your best. But, if you're a little low in energy, all right, not so much, right? You have a range of what you can do in a normal lesson. You can give it really nice if you feel like it, or just kind of mediocre. You have that freedom. But if you get earnestly asked, you've got to be on your best. Yes?
Oh, yeah, that is so true.
You get leveraged automatically. Right. So we can earnestly seek learning and we get it in the most best of all possible ways. Isn't that what happens in our Zoom session?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I love it so.
Yeah.
By the way, if you invite me over to your house just for an evening to come visit, I'll have the same conversation, by the
way. Right.
It's just who I am and what I do, just so you know. Don't expect other stuff, I mean, it may not be topic specific, but if we watch a movie, sure, later something's going to come up. We're going to have the same conversation,
Because that's where your mind is. That's where your heart is.
It's where I've always been. Yeah. Well, sometimes I'll tell stories, or I was sharing a movie idea story with Erica yesterday.
Mhm.
About Hoover and FBI agents and saving America and conspiracies and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, very cool. I can send you the story if you like that sort of thing. Yeah.
Okay.
I need to flesh it out. It's half written, but the story's complete. But it's the outline mostly, and there's some dialogue. But I need to put all the dialogue in. But nonetheless, the story's there. So, yeah, it's a fun story.
Do you ever sleep?
Actually, I spend a lot of time in bed. I don't always sleep all that time. I go to bed very early because then I'll sleep a little bit. I'm very tired, but then I'll sleep for like an hour and I wake up, I'm all wide awake. And then it takes me hours again to fall asleep. Then I'll sleep for another 3 or 4 hours and I wake up again. And then I'm also awake for an hour or two again, and then I sleep more. So I do a lot of thinking and stuff. So yeah, I'm very productive, Kay. I'm very, very productive. But I'm less so now than I used to be.
Really?
Oh yeah, much less.
Hmm.
Because I'm not sleeping fully. I would go flat out 16 hours a day, and then that's it. And then, and be productive all of those 16 hours.
Well, that would be the case. I could see that. I could definitely.
I have tons of content and material saved up.
I can imagine that you do.
I need like a team of editors, not just one editor. I need a whole team, to arrange it and sort it. And
That's a good,
it'll come at some point.
good idea. I think I like it.
I do get a lot of stuff done, so I'm very happy with that. And I've only been writing since kind of the end of 2014, so 2015 really.
Really?
Yeah.
What did you do before that? You didn't write.
Just think and apply.
Wow. Well, those are good things to do.
I spent an inordinate amount of time figuring out what it is that I want to live by.
Mm.
Once I figured that out, I said, now I have what I want to live by. Now I need to apply it. And the rest of the time since that time, which was, way back when I was a young man, in my early 20s, mid 20s somewhere, I said, now I'm going to shift to application. And I did. And I pretty much stopped reading. Well, I stopped reading, like philosophical stuff or self-help stuff or any of that. Because after my big reading project, I was a little bit disillusioned. Yes, I had stuff that gave me what I wanted, but what I pulled from that turned out to be, I didn't realize it at the time, but it turned out to be just a nice, it was a materialization of intent. It turned out to be language that I really loved the language, and it was expressing what I'd been working on all my life.
Right.
But I never had the ego to think that I'd been working out a psychology or a philosophy, both actually, right. Psychology and a philosophy, all on my own. I just too much humility. So I never thought of that. And only really realized that much later on, so.
Right.
But yeah, so most of my life I spent in application.
Well, that's good. That's a good thing.
Yeah, living in attunement, living with the force, really. Going on adventures too, okay. And always I was trying to, I had businesses. They came and they went, and always the intent of the business was to get out, to get out in some way, buy my own farm or whatever, so I can just do my own thing. It never happened because I had to do this, I guess. So even now I'm on a plane to do that.
Right. Well, very cool.
maybe someday. I never give up. I never give up. I'm very persistent.
There you go. That's important. Okay.
So, it's no point to me. I never had any intents to do what I'm doing now.
Right.
Like most people, they're interested in psychology or philosophy or self-help, and they for them always it's the two of being a coach seems to be like it goes together, or right. At least when they get a little bit of proficiency in self-help or whatever. Now I've got to teach everybody. I've got to pass this on. I never had that. It never was an issue for me in the least. I never felt that what I'm doing, that I know enough to pass on to somebody else. I would never have thought to do this if it wasn't for the universe, you know. And I had to work really hard to get into this mindset of sharing. Yes, I'd written the story in the Biella series and all that, you know, about sharing and the magic of it. So it was a matter of just applying this. You know, I mean, when we do the Biella series, you'll see how it is basically a recap of Way of Impeccability. I didn't realize it until now that I am actually, you know, making the course, the program for it, you know, doing the slides and doing the tasks and exercises to see how much of it was there before I did Way of Impeccability. You know, it's all in the book already. So, but yeah, I never had any ideas like that, you know, so.
So how did that come to you? How did you know that's what you needed to start doing?
The pressure, you mean the force of circumstance? Oh, it's many little things, you know, it's an accumulation of stuff. First of all, I was just doing my own thing, you know, playing games, having fun, just applying myself, exploring. Because for me, playing the video games, you know, it's a philosophical exercise, and it's a study of psychology. It's a study of how people think, conceive. Most of all, it was the study of what play means to people. Right. And what gives them joy and fun. And that evolved as I was going through. It was fantastic. Anyway, lots of stuff. I can go on for a long time about what I do when I play. Anyway, so I was just happy doing my own thing. And then Livia got onto me. She texted me and said, hey, you know what, because we weren't living together at that time. We were together for a long time. And then she went and did her own thing and then lived together for a while again. At any rate, so she said, oh, look, you got to get on Facebook. I said, you know, Facebook, seriously? You know, I mean, this is the Chronicles of Countenance. That's my nickname for them. You know, the whole intent of it was self-propagation. And I said, it has no appeal for me whatsoever. She says, yeah, but it's not what you think. There's more to it. Okay. And she really pressed me on this. And then, you know, I got on Facebook, I started a little bit, and you gotta do a blog, you gotta do a blog. And then from other aspects too, a little bit, you know, people always told me, oh, you gotta write a book. Whatever. You know, I wasn't very excited to write at all. I was really no interest in it. And then for the blog, I made a couple of articles. This was in 2011. I lost interest and I wasn't very excited. And then in 2011, I wrote chapters 1 and 3 of the Biella series. Yeah. And it's work for me to, then it was work for me to write. I kind of left it. And then, you know, the first one I sent to Olivia, first chapter I sent to Olivia as a birthday present. She really liked it. It was a big deal. It had a big impact on her. So I was like fooling around a little bit. And then I started to get more pressure to do this, just from little things, you know, little anomalous stuff, to keep doing this. Okay, so then I started the posting. And then my living situation changed. It's a long story, but then I ended up living with Olivia, and she was with somebody at the time, this BMN that was basically the focus for the book, you know. And then when that fell apart, then I needed to do something from an income point of view, because I had stopped doing what I was doing. I was in the flea market doing great business. You know, it was very simple business. I work on the weekends only. I'm free. Very low maintenance, and you know, I more than suit my needs. But I just got one day. For whatever reason, I guess an attunement, kind of a weird reason, feeling, I just didn't want to go back, and this was very unreasonable for me. Can you not want to go back? You know, nothing else you're gonna do. And so I just stopped going, and I deliberately did what was totally unreasonable because it went with the philosophy of doing what you want. Right? I wouldn't want something because I understood my ethics and my impeccability. So I understood I cannot possibly want what is wrong or bad or foolish, but I had a very strong want not to do that. Anyway, so because I did this, it resulted in the change of the living circumstance, and I ended up living there in a little separate room where Olivia was, you know, and its own bathroom, and it was perfect. It was ideal. And then I helped out them a little bit and did stuff, and you know, just whatever, just you know, kind of help with computer stuff and doing data entry, you know, receipts onto a spreadsheet, nonsense like that. Making videos. That's right. I made videos and edited them. So anyway, but then when he left, then I said, now, well, you know, because he was pay the rent and taking care of everything, and I was just, part of it. So, and Olivia too. So, okay, now I have to do something. So I don't remember how it came about. I really don't know now. Wow, let's see. I'll have to ask Olivia. But Airbnb experiences came about. Or at least the idea that we can do Airbnb experiences. And there was something more. I'd already started looking at doing some sort of a program, and I don't remember why, but I'd sort of given up on it. I had a lot of material. I did a lot of research, making courses, and I sort of like, whatever. And so she had invited a friend, very unusual kind of a fellow. And I was just showing him stuff on my computer, what I was doing. And I had made, I'd made like a little, like an experience really, or a task, sort of a thing that you go through with the 10 Commandments, with questions, and then it shifts you. And so first you give your perceptions on it, and then you come back in and you say, what more? And it just shifts. He just thought this was the biggest thing ever. And I'm like, wow, I thought this was cool, but I never really shared it with anybody. And then he said, oh, he was involved with people who had Airbnb, and they had like guests that would come, and they would give little seminars or lectures. And he knew this lady was like a handyman, and he said, oh, he'll talk to her, and I can come and give this, and but that never happened. So, but because of the connection with Airbnb, I started looking into it. Oh, you can do Airbnb experiences, invite people to your home, and then we started doing. And I refined it, and I practice and test, and put it all formatted, audio for it. Did all the work involved. It was a lot of work, but then also I had to do the work to learn to facilitate. Sure. Because you can't just present the stuff and that. So, and I had to really practice that. So anyway, I did, and I learned how to do that. And then we did that, but it wasn't enough. It didn't bring in enough income. Right. It was kind of half of what we needed. And then, so I don't know what made me start to do Way of Impeccability. I have no idea. I really don't remember. It just flowed, because I know I started doing that while we were doing the experiences. Right. And we were doing it for a year before we left that property. The landlord wanted to raise the rent, and it was a whole adventure again, that I went into all sorts of magical adventures with attunement. But I don't know what started me. Sorry, I don't remember exactly now. I really don't know.
Well, that's interesting, though. Interesting how it evolved.
We did need more. Very early way of the experiences guests that came. Maybe like the fourth or the fifth one. He came, and then, he stayed the whole day. And at the end of the day, I started to explain to him what I had been working on. And then he said, oh, where do I sign up? Wow. So, and then he was the first client for it. But then the money that he said from it, I used to go to do a course on like Facebook advertising, and the funnels, and they set up all the stuff. So it was a whole thing that is very useful. I do use some of it still, but they kind of push the money angle a little bit much. So yeah, I know I can do that if I want to, but it's not a path I want to go. But still was worthwhile. And then, so that was at the end of that year, while we were still doing the Airbnb experiences. That's when I met Erica and Sher, and because that came about from one of the guests, Miles. He came as an Airbnb experience guest, and he came and did the Way of Impeccability like over a week. We did one module a day. Right. Highly intense. It was too fast, of course, but hey, what did I know? And they didn't pay full price for it, but still, okay, it was money we needed at the time. But then, to support him,
You had to put it together better. Yeah.
Reason went on those Zoom sessions was being a nice person really supporting him. I saw he's a bit lost, So, and I'm glad I did, because then I got to see Erica Jane and Cher also. But still, for me, I was still working on the program, even though it was complete. I wanted test clients signed up in February, I believe, mid-February. So I got some testers in May, June, Bina and Donna, and then Ryan. And Ryan, he stopped very soon afterwards. But neither Bina nor Donna did the program the way I intended it to, because I was reluctant to, like when Erica started too, I was reluctant to press the people who are doing testing, to do the takeaways and the repeat back. I thought it would scare them off, Little did I realize it's actually the opposite way around. So, so then, I was in deep testing mode still, because I'm not comfortable saying something, putting something out there or advertising, I've got this program, if I don't know it works. Yeah. Right. So then I said, no, this testing ain't really working so well, and it's very hard. Like I tried to get Bina and Donna to redo it, and they kind of did, but not fully. Luckily, Erica came because there was a substantial break. And then when Erica restarted, she did it fully. And then it started the cycle of people doing it fully and appropriately and positively. And then after Erica, I reached out to Sue. I don't know why. I reached out to a few of the people who would come for the experiences. But I wasn't reaching out generically. Somehow something happened for me to connect to Sue, and then Sue signed up for the program. And Sue, I call her Gateway Sue sometimes, because she's brought other people in, like Robin and Cheryl. So yeah. So things just lead to themselves, and I suspect at some point, this is a kind of a big thing. You're going to find when you start to connect to people that you really want to connect to, there will probably be people where you say, you know what, Way of Impeccability would be something really cool for you.
Yes.
Yeah. And that tells you much about your friends, that you don't have any friends that you could really feel that you could recommend it to right now.
Right. You know who I
Says a lot, right?
There's one person I've been thinking about sharing, and that is, interestingly, David's daughter.
Yes, it sounded to me when you mentioned it. Yes, the one who invited you, right? Yeah. Because this program is not remedial.
Right.
It is for people who, there was nothing wrong with your life or Erica's life. Nothing whatsoever. And that's who I am interested in. I'm not interested in remedial stuff where you've got problems and you can't live. You would have lived quite a happy life, but you wanted more.
Right.
That's who I'm interested in. People who want more. And to whom learning is a need.
Those are the people I'm interested in too.
Exactly. So when you're looking at these new friends, think of them in the context of a participant. It's a big deal. One of the intents of Way of Impeccability is community building.
Right.
Yeah, it's interesting that I've always noticed this with the flow of attunement. I can never really remember, very seldom, because it's always this accumulation of little things,
Right. Okay, I'm trying to kind of restate what you said about the kind of people, not people who are, sort of in major struggle and they
people who are in need of remedial therapy or remedial learning, right? But people who not just will like and enjoy learning, but to whom learning and growth is a need.
Yes.
It is their purpose and function in life. They can't really exist without it. It's important to them. It matters. Not because they need it, but because they want it. Yes, I say need, but their need is because they want it so much. It becomes a need, right? It's not actually technically a need, yeah, but it manifests as a need because it's so joyful and delicious and important to them.
Right. And people who their life is fine, but they want more.
Exactly, they want more. Exactly, they might not even realize always that they want more.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, Joe is a great example of that.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, just think of yourself where you were at.
Yes, I'm a good example of that too.
You're an excellent example of that. Exactly. Exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It is very, very, very interesting. So, uh, anybody that you do wish to invite, just invite them to come along on a session.
That's a good idea. Okay.
Invite them over, have them sit like when you sit next to Erica, and you put a chair next to you, and like you earn Joe, you just push your camera a little further back, and there you go, and they can share and participate. And you say, come and see what the session is all about and join in. You'll see there's lots. Doesn't matter if you don't know what exactly, you'll pick it up quickly enough. Then they'll get to see what's involved. And that involvement, when we're doing our usual thing, they get to see what's really about. And they'll say, oh, I want part of this. I want this to be focused around me, not just sitting and viewing it from the outside. It's a big deal. So
I think that's what happened to me.
exactly. Exactly. It is what happened to you. Exactly.
That is, I mean, I would hear you and Erica, because she would have,
Exactly.
she would talk to you. She'd either be in the living room or in the kitchen, somewhere where I was, close by.
And then every now and then you'd come and butt in, and I said, no, sorry, you got to come do this yourself. I was very keen because it was obvious that you were connecting to it and that you were sharing it with Erica Jane. But I didn't want the dilution effect.
Oh yeah.
So that was important to me, that you don't get it half-heartedly,
right.
That you get it fully. And then, of course, it's going to, in my service to Erica Jane, it was going to accelerate and enhance what Erica Jane was doing. So that was really potent and very important. And, it's worked out most magically. It's why I make a point to involve Joe, even though, he does it so quickly and just touches on, but as much as his time allows, But I mean, he could make more time, but other things are important to him. So, but it's important that Joe stays involved. Very important.
Absolutely. That is super interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a good.
Very cool. So what is her name?
Mackenzie Martin.
Her name is Mackenzie.
Now,
her first name is Mackenzie.
Yes.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. So yeah, if she's more than welcome, or if she just want to come in with you.
Well, she lives in Los Angeles, so.
Right. But I mean, she can come on Zoom. That's what I was going to say. If you can't invite her to your home, you can invite her to come on Zoom. Not a problem. Anytime. Yeah.
Well, it's just something that has just been looking at the door.
Yeah. And sometimes I've seen this with finding new friends. The universe connects you with somebody, but it's not them. It's secondhand. You wouldn't have been able to connect directly to Mackenzie if it wasn't for David. And I see this many times. I mean, I had a really, really good friend. Actually, I guess, I've never had clients, and I never really thought of me helping people. I was always just assisting, sharing stuff, and this was way when I was still at school. He was my brother's friend, but he became mine. And the friendship with my brother, he still stayed friends, but they weren't, not that much interaction, But we became really good friends, and he was probably more than 10 years older than me. It was an unusual fellow, but I really assisted him in advancing in his career, in his job, in getting a girlfriend, and eventually, I guess, I don't know if they technically got married or not, but that was it. He never had a girlfriend before that. And he was a cool guy. Everybody loved him, but he was just an anomaly as a person. So yeah, I mean that was it. He was 35 at the time. Wow. With his first girlfriend. So.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
And losing his virginity too.
Wow, at 35.
Yeah, it was very interesting. Wow. And he was the core of an extended interaction. Like I said, he was he'd already left school quite a few years before my brother, but because he was the DJ in the town, so everything sort of revolved around him, And then he moved to, and then so everybody would hang out with him, and he'd go on like to the vacation spots, and people would go, and he'd be the center of that. So and each subsequent year he would be the consistent anchor, the people would move on, they'd go to university, but then the next graduating class, they would revolve around him, So he was always the center. But, I became really intimate, really good friends with him. He had one or two others, but nothing like what we had. So he was just an unusual fellow, and he was very, very dyslexic also.
Oh,
Yeah.
really? Wow.
But, he was a good salesman, and I really assisted him to be even a better salesman. So he got promoted despite, you see some of his forms that he fills in, it's like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
It's like, you can't believe he graduated from school, he was the only person in South Africa I ever saw like that. In America, I see it all the time. Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah.
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 That is
Well, anyway, so I'm just saying, I never had, I just shared always. He was just a friend, and we just go out and share. I knew him when I was at university. I was only there for a year, but also while I was during the army, which was 2 years. And then, there's a half a year in between. So it's like 4 years after school, a couple of time off, another 5 or so years. So I never had any money. Take me out to the restaurants. I don't worry about it, so you got lots of value out of it. So, but still, it's just, to me, it was just friendship,
Sure.
I only sort of thought of it afterwards as facilitating.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
But like I said, after that, just was more casual. It was never really something so intense like that, because it was never an intent of mine. I never thought of myself in that role. Humility is a peculiar thing. It can be a hamper. It can be a detriment.
True.
Also, I had a really nice insight today, and why I enjoy doing it, I'm always with it. I was talking to Sue, and we're talking about self-conception, came up in the anxiety and worry course. Made a few little smaller, more specialized courses, because Sue was keen on that too. Anyway, so talking about self-conception, and I realized part of my self-conception, not realized, but I know part of my self-conception is humility. It's a very powerful part of my self-conception. And it's a very important part. I really don't ever want to think I know stuff or come from I'm like a teacher point of view. So I just don't like that title at all. I don't even want to get close to that mindset. Yeah, I'll share with you. That's it in the story. You take it as you want. But I realized that humility is really important. But my conception, my self-conception, which is humility, is a very big key point of that. My conception of humility does not necessarily include joy and eagerness and excitement and enthusiasm.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was saying that, what I feel on a regular basis in terms of my self-conception, I don't always feel the joy. I have to make an effort to be, because my conception of humility didn't include that. And now I updated it, right? So that my humility, I feel joy in being a nincompoop. Why? Because I got lots to learn, because I enjoy learning. Right. So I shifted my conception of humility. My self-conception included joy, but not the predominant, percentage of it, or one of them, which is humility. Earnestness, that's definitely there, as a predominant thing. But my earnestness is a joy, so, but not humility. Very interesting. So I updated.
There you go. I like it.
Nuance. Yeah, we've got to pay attention to the nuance. It's very important. Very important. Self-conception is especially where we have to be super diligent on precision. Very important. Very important. Yeah. Very cool.
Well, I can see that I have a lot. There's a lot I still need to work on. All different pieces
Yes.
are all kind of coming.
Yes, exactly. So that's why we take our time. And, like you would think, the more we go, the faster we go through the sessions. It seems to work the other way around. Sometimes with Erica, we like do one slide, and
But that just means
it's always more. In other words, right? It's an inverted pyramid. I think of it as being this inverted pyramid of awareness and knowledge above our heads, right? And the more it fills up, the wider the pyramid goes, right? So, yeah, that's the magic. It's the magic of what we do.
Well, I appreciate your patience in.
It's truly a pleasure, Kay. It's truly a pleasure. Yeah. So let when these things come, like Mackenzie, don't put them on the never list. Act on it.
Okay.
Same thing with those lunches. Did you call them already?
No.
Are you going to call them today?
I need to. I could.
Why not? That's my point. If we don't do it while the energy is hot, we tend to never do it. And there's a sort of a decreasing scale where it becomes more and more difficult to do it because you get further away from the motivating energy. So, do it while the energy is there. Otherwise, it never gets done. So, yeah, it's very important. I see this all the time. People have great ideas, they don't act on them, and then they just die. And then they cannot act on them after a while. It's like a resistance that builds up because if you do it way later, it's an acknowledgement you should have done it way sooner.
Good point. Good point. Okay. All right. That was
brilliant. All right. See you, guys. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
So brilliant. Love it.